家好. In this video, we'll talk about the second language acquisition based on a video made by Steve Kaufmann. And precisely, it's about the comprehensive input hypothesis proposed by Stephen Krashen.
We're all from China. They did not speak German. They did not speak English. There I was. I spoke Mandarin to them. They went absolutely crazy. I would say things like, "Oh, mama, mei wenti," and they said, "Oh, that's so nice." You could say, "Oh, that's wonderful." So we had this broken conversation. At the end, I went ahead of them to do the passport check, and they were behind me, and I said, "Okay, goodbye. Wo ai ni men." Lom Kato has said, language is something where if you only know a little, it's a good thing.
Right.
It's a virtue.
Right.
Enjoy it. If you only know a little of science, it can be dangerous, as Donald Trump has illustrated. I've been doing Mandarin. Mm-hmm. Great fun. You've got to be like you. It's so interesting to be struggling all the time. Mm-hmm. I do it not only for the pleasure, but as part of my research. Yep. And I have decided for a while to not worry about characters. I did characters for a while, and this correlates with Steve Kaufmann's experience with the way he did Mandarin, but to do a lot of pinyin and a lot of listening. Mm-hmm. But I've decided when I go to Hanzi, when I go to the characters again, it's going to be with your system.
Right.
It's going to be absolutely perfect. I can get it a little at a time, let it gradually build up.
Why should we learn a second language in our senior years? Studies have shown that learning a second language can decrease the risk of developing dementia. So being bilingual can also delay the process of developing Alzheimer's problems by more than 4 years.
Yes, you forget. I don't rely on memories of remembering. I don't rely on it at all. No. And one thing I wanted to mention, which I haven't mentioned to you, but I was doing some reading on the brain and stuff, how it works. And by forcing yourself to learn Chinese, you're forcing the brain to do something that's new, that you haven't done before. And that is creating new neural connections. It is expanding. Yeah. It's taking advantage of that plasticity, which if at our age, we basically are no longer interested in doing new things, then actually we start losing some of those neural connections. So the process of reading, the process of listening is expanding our brain. We will eventually get to our goal. The process by which we learn, I think, is more tied to the listening and reading than it is to any deliberate instruction, deliberate, study of some aspect of the language. So you're on the right path. You just have to stay the course, and I will on Hebrew, and you will on
comprehensible input. Everybody does it. Some people do this, some people do that. They do a wide variety. They all do comprehensible input. It's the only universal feature I have found in successful language acquirers.
Yeah.
Now, to bridge to my other new thinking, what people do is they have strategies for making input comprehensible. Good teachers do this, and the polyglots do this. Teachers, they might be telling a story. They'll come to a word that they're pretty sure the class doesn't know. They'll explain it. They might translate it. They might give a synonym. They might draw a picture. It's not designed for you to learn the word and remember it.
Right.
It's designed to make the text more comprehensible.
Absolutely.
The irony is, if you do that enough, it'll help you acquire the word.
I can't resist jumping in. We call the meaning of the word at Link, when you look it up, we call it a hint.
Exactly.
We do not call it the meaning.
Really?
It is a hint. And if you see that yellow reminder that you've actually seen the word before, and if you see it often enough, eventually the picture, that total scope of the word. This, of course, however, my experience with learning Mandarin was the first month I had intensive exposure to these dialogues with audio and pinyin, so that when I went to learn the characters, I had a reference, a word that I knew the sound of, knew the meaning of. And I think whenever we learn something, if we can tie it to something that we already know.
He has said, and I love passing this on, when that happens, just keep reading and listening. Don't worry about it. Just keep reading and listening, and that seems to be the cure.
Anyway,
And I've gone through it about, each chapter about 10 times now, 15 times. It's interesting. It's nice. She does a nice job. The other day, I picked it up and read it alone. I heard her voice in my head.
Yes.
Reading the story.
Yeah.
The correct pronunciation is beginning to be acquired.
Right.
Absorbed. The tones sounded right.
Have you been-
Other people generally don't care if you make mistakes. They are not judging you.
Right.
But Steve has said, you always think you're going to be real fast, and it's never. But once you're sucked in, you can't stop, which is exactly what has happened. We're not only trying to get comprehensible input and acquire the language, but we're examining the process as we do it. We're constructing a theory of language acquisition,
Right.
constantly refining it, changing it, and learning new things.
Right.
We're going through cognitive development at the same time. The parallel theory to comprehensible input with learning in general is we get smarter by trying to solve problems. Encyclopedic knowledge doesn't come from study. It comes from problem solving.
Right.
And in terms of problem solving, each of us wants to solve different problems. We all have our own path. Picasso says, find your gift, develop it, and give it away.
Right.
You find your path. Mark Twain says, the two most important days of your life, the day you're born, the day you discover why, what your path is. When you find your path, you solve problems in that path. You're happy, you're in love with your work, and you get smarter. The only way to get smart, genius means you've discovered your path. Geniuses are people who've discovered their path
Right.
and stick to it. That's why we're so happy.
And absolutely.